Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you'll never miss an update.
Today I wandered around the city and found myself here in Eastwood Mall, where I found a very interesting place where you can immerse within a story. So welcome to another episode of Wonder Woman.
Are you ready? Okay. Once upon a time, there was this peculiar little girl. She was loved by her parents so much that they gave her everything she wanted.
Well, hello there, little thing. I am Mara, what you call a duende.
You know what I am? Any guesses? You are me. No. So. It would make them truly suffer.
So friends, let me all welcome you to Tipsy Tales.
Samahan mo ko.
So welcome to another episode of Wonder Woman. We would like to thank Miss Kina for allowing us to feature Tipsy Tales today.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Kina, tell me more about Tipsy Tales. What's it all about?
So, Tipsy Tales is an immersive experience company. We create moments that we hope to bring people together. So, we create like these multi-sensory, multi-linear experiential entertainment wherein audiences don't just watch but they're actually part of the story and they get to play a role in unfolding the narrative.
Is this something that's entirely new here in the Philippines?
We think so. We think all over the world there are similar productions, but none to the scale and none that focus particularly on Asian culture. Usually, when you have immersive experiences, they're based on the famous ones are on Western culture. So we hope to create more of them that are for Asian culture, particularly Filipino.
So is Tipsy Tales taken from any other countries like you've seen before? I mean, how did you come up with Tipsy Tales?
Well, it's a combination of seeing what's out there and looking at what's special about our particular culture and how do we bring those things out. So when we travel a lot, we saw a lot of these things that are sometimes it's dining, sometimes it's more horror, sometimes it's more like performance, like dancing. And we really wanted to bring those kinds of highly interactive, immersive entertainment here in Metro Manila for people to experience even if they don't go abroad. And there's so much great talent in Manila. We have so many great like actors, performers all over the world. A lot of theme parks have our people in them. And we really wanted to create more places for those kinds of performers to really thrive in.
That's really good. I mean, to have the Filipinos. I mean, another venture wherein Filipinos can showcase their talents. Yeah. So is Tipsy Tales somehow? Is there something similar? I mean, outside the country that's doing the same thing. It's folklore, right? So is it patterned to any other country in particular doing the same stuff?
No.
It's one of its kind.
The first of its kind, I think, that focuses particularly on one country's folklore. So we think that we're in this space quite a pioneering product. And also, when you think about immersive theater, most are immersive in the sense of where they're done, like in certain locations. But very few are immersive in the sense that the story actually changes with you, wherein even not just the set brings you to the experience, but your choices. And we think that's special about Lambana.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard stories about this. I mean, at least for our generation. My generation probably, but my kids, they haven't heard anything about it. So this is entirely new to them. Like what you said, yeah. At some point, the gadget is down and just clearly experiencing the theater, which is something good. Even my mom liked it, and yeah, she was even telling me that, oh, this is good for the kids. I mean, for the schools actually, because most kids nowadays are just indulged in gadgets and all that. They don't know about all the other. Of course, like some of the characters they know about. It's like globally they know about it, but the other characters they don't know about it.
We noticed that a lot of kids, especially Filipino kids,
Yes.
they grow up with a lot of Western content. So more often than not, when they don't have these experiences that connect them with their culture, like going home to the province, hearing stories from their older like grandparents or other relatives, they sort of disconnect, and sometimes even they themselves don't recognize parts of our culture when it's used on a global standpoint, because a lot of Western media has been playing on Filipino folklore, but many children or people who watch it don't recognize it, which is such a shame. Because even in terms of other content, we have so many great movies, so many great books, so many great comic books on Filipino folklore, and it's just waiting to be read. When people read mangas for Japan, why don't they read like these comic books from the Filipino artists as well, who are equally well written and great storytelling.
Yeah, so this is really, really great. I mean, it's a great business for you guys, but it's a great opportunity for us Filipinos to experience it. The immersed theater. I mean, that sort of the kids would actually feel it is different than just watching the show. Cause when kids are just watching, sometimes they would just sleep or sneak in, put their gadget on and just play. But this is entirely different, and they would feel it and experience it themselves. Okay, Kina, so how long did it take you from conceptualization to the final launch of Tipsy Tales?
It took about a year and a half of building.
Wow, a year and a half only!
Yeah.
Wow!
Yeah, so it's very self-produced in a sense, and the design process for the set was a bit complex. It took about 3 to 4 months because the set itself had to be built not just for experience in terms of the multisensory aspect, but also safety. We're somewhat built like a theme park because every room has emergency exits. We have CCTV cameras. We had to make sure that everything was planned perfectly to make sure that no matter what audience comes, we're prepared for it, whether they're 3 years old or 88 years old, which is the range audience that I've watched so far. And training the actors took about 3 to 4 months for them to get to the level that they are now. It took a lot of training from both character building. They all have to learn a lot about folklore because they have to basically know history and culture for them to be able to interact and properly represent their characters when there's foreigners or people who have never heard of it before. And they work really hard to be able to identify how to better assess how to talk to certain audiences. Because different audiences, talking to a children in immersive theater is different from talking to an adult or a senior citizen or a Filipino or a
So they have to be versatile in some
very
sense.
versatile, very intelligent, very quick. And no matter what happens on the show, wherein people make different decisions in different times, they're very quick to adapt. So it took a while to build because we had to be very diligent in preparations. But we think it's worth it because the show is great.
So I see Noelle is with you here. So basically, how many actors do we have at Tipsy Tales?
I think total we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 11? I think there's like 11 of us total, and we rotate between. Is there are 5 characters? I'm sorry, like including the kapres, like 13. There's
Oh,
about 13
okay.
of us. we rotate between the 5 main roles.
Mm.
Because unfortunately, we can't be here every day.
Oh.
Yeah, so we rotate between the 13 of us, and all of us are trained pretty well. The Wayne and Kina, the co-founders, were our first directors. They came up with a story and the direction, and pretty much everything themselves. So it was just really them communicating their vision to us. It was up to us to make it like the best version that we could to live up to the standard that they saw. I think we're doing okay, right? We're doing all right.
Yeah.
We have such an interesting, versatile cast. Like
Yeah.
when they're not performing with us, they're free to take other things outside, and we encourage them to get better at their craft, may it be acting or something else. So in our cast alone, we have recording artists, we have like pole dancers, fire dancers.
Oh, that's cool.
Noel is also a stunt actor.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we have a very diverse and interesting cast who are always very willing to lend their skills and showcase that there's complexity in the characters they play, because they add their own personalities to each one of them.
Okay, so they're not in particularly one theater group. So they are from different organizations or things like that.
Because for now, there isn't really anyone else that trains actors the way we do. So we appreciate when they come from different backgrounds, because they bring something interesting to the table, a different style, different performance types. And we eventually get to train them in a way that fits both our vision for the project and makes them interact with audiences on a certain intimacy that most shows won't allow them. Because we can run a show for as little as one person. So it really is a story about.
Oh, wow. So why at Eastwood Mall? I know you're in the city, but why here? I mean, is there a particular reason why here, or yeah?
Well, in a sense, we got lucky. When we first built this company, Wayne and I were just two people with dreams, like we didn't have strong theater backgrounds, we weren't connected to all the industry that well, and we were trying to introduce this new concept that we felt like was very new and not many people understood or believed in. But when we did our pitches to different groups, Mega World was the first to really believe in us, that this was an idea worth doing, it was worth pursuing, and they really supported us in the first few months where we were still building our team, we were still finalizing the set, and we got quite lucky in that sense. It's such a new concept. We needed such a big space, and
How big is this space that you guys are occupying here in Eastwood Mall?
it's more than 4,000 square feet.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's actually quite big. But when the audiences come to watch, they don't get to see everything all at once. Depending on your decisions, that's when you're given access to certain experiences, certain rooms, certain characters.
Are you looking at moving the shows to different areas as well, or different provinces? I know at the moment you're starting here at Eastwood, but are you planning to bring the shows outside Manila, outside the city?
Yeah, of course. We feel like these kinds of cultural productions, it's a great thing to bring abroad, because it's one way for people who have never been to the Philippines to get a feel of the Philippines in a way that's highly interactive, and it feels like it's really designed for them. And eventually we also want to create like more shows regionally. So imagine going to Davao and going through an experience similar to this, just on Mindanao culture, Mindanao art, Mindanao folklore. The Philippines in terms of culture is so diverse, not just our folklore, but our food, our art, our interior design, our architecture. So if we were to create more cultural productions like this, it would be so interesting to have it in different regions.
Yeah, we actually had an audience member like a month ago or something, and she was from San Francisco. And as you know, there's like a lot of Asians and Filipinos in particular in California, San Francisco. After they watched the show, they loved it so much, and they were like, and she was like saying, please bring this to San Francisco so I can show the rest of my family and friends. They would love this. Because like, there's a lot of Filipinos there that were born and raised in the U.S. that don't know a lot about the culture. This is both simultaneously very entertaining, and you learn a lot about folklore and the culture and things like that. So
we really love having OFWs, people who haven't been home for a while, get to do something with their family and friends. It's different and new and still very Filipino. We love seeing older audiences, as old as 88, who come in here feeling like it's their story.
It's like reconnecting back to your roots, right?
With your family and showing your kids afterwards, having dinner and then telling them about your personal experiences in the province. It's a joy to create experiences that get people talking to each other.
Yeah, and that sparks the conversation again. I mean, for like a grandmother telling the story about these things to the grandchild. Yeah. Okay, Noel, I would like to ask you.
Yep.
So, you guys just started in August, is that right?
We soft opened in July.
All right.
But yeah, officially to general public August, true.
So, how was the experience so far? I mean,
It's been very fun for me. Some days it's tiring because we do 6 shows a day. Some days we're fully booked, so those days can be a bit tiring. But aside from that, it's been very fun for me, particularly because even though I'm playing the same role, I've been playing the same role since July, and we started seriously rehearsing in April, so I've been technically playing the role for that long.
yeah.
It's not boring for me because the role changes pretty much every time, depending on the audience member. Right?
You mean depending on the reaction of the
Exactly.
audience?
Because like the audience, because it's not like a straight, very traditional script, either theater or movie,
Yeah.
where you're talking the same characters all the time. It's the same interaction, but the different audience members bring a different flavor to it. Like we mentioned, like elderly people have watched the show, kids, and some people that prefer English or Tagalog. Those are all very different than
Yeah.
the tons of other types of audience in between. So that changes the way the character reacts. So I will say something to them, then the audience will reply something different every time. And then the conversation will change, like from then on. Like it's a different conversation from the last show I did. So in that sense, it's very fun for me as an actor.
Yeah.
Some would say it's very challenging, and it is. But for me, I don't look
Yeah,
at
because
it.
it's like impromptu, right?
It's improv, yeah. It's improvisation. We have a base script because, like, there is a story.
Yes.
Like, we don't make the story up every show, but we leave the exact dialogue free enough, open enough, so that we can accommodate pretty much any type of audience. So that is very fun for me. It keeps me on my toes and keeps it fresh for me. And yeah, that's been my experience with this production. I love working here.
That's great. Any funny experience you can't forget so far?
The one funny experience that I've had is the very first time we did the Tagalog show.
Okay.
Because the original script, like I mentioned previously, was in English. So we did a Tagalog show during the soft launch, and just to try it out. Because we were actually planning on doing it, but we just went for it since it was a soft launch anyway,
Yes.
trial and error and all that.
Yeah.
And me in particular, I wasn't prepared and I was more comfortable with English, so I was like doing half Tagalog and
half
Taglish, and it was like very weird for the character. I was like, as long as I finish the show.
Okay.
Yeah, and like because my character is one of the scarier characters, and sometimes it causes trouble for me because people get scared in different ways. Some people shout. Some people do various things, but there are some people that just freeze, like
Literally
just
freeze?
And I was like, okay.
So
we
what
can't
do you do
stop.
in that case?
Exactly.
What do you do when the person doesn't
Do
move at
something,
all?
right?
Yeah.
But then the audience is freeze, and I'm like, I try to like
Mellow
get
down?
them. I don't know, like, get them back in the show, whatever that means. So that's happened to me a bunch of times, and yeah, like there's a lot. I can't say specific things because it's like spoiler stuff. But yeah, there's like I've done a lot of shows since like July, and all sorts of people, and there's a lot. Like one thing I learned from the show is you can never predict people. That's why like you have to, if you're an actor here, if you work here, you just have to be open to all that. Because if you're not, this is just gonna screw you up.
Yeah.
It's like literally every show, it's an unexpected thing, or like you expect the worst. There's like that was easier than expected, or like the opposite is like, oh, this is gonna be an easy show. Then like after the show, you're like sweating. I was like, oh, that was not so hard. But it's fun. Like all of that combined is like fun for me. I'm sure there are the other actors.
Every show is like playing a game of chess. you don't know what the odds.
Yeah.
You just have to react.
Like
to
it's the same
everything.
game, but like you know,
So it makes you more excited, right?
it's more exciting than other types of more traditional productions, for sure. At least in my opinion. Like no
Yeah.
offense to like traditional theater, because I love it. I like grew up and trained in Shakespeare and things
Yes,
like that.
yes.
But for me, yeah, because like literally every show is different, despite the fact that it's technically the same show. Because like you know the audience will. Like Kina mentioned earlier, there have been some audience members that have seen the show multiple times. So a lot of audience members will see, oh, what happens if I do this time? So you gotta be
Okay,
prepared
so
for
they
that.
get to come back and see
Yeah, because it's their
what's
right.
gonna be
Yeah.
the next thing if I
Because
did
the
this.
show literally changes depending on what you do. So you gotta be prepared for all that. Yeah.
And sometimes they get disappointed that they get the same ending a second time, so they go a third time just to see.
Yeah, we have multiple endings, so it's like a game for the audience. Oh, how do I unlock the next one? It's like a video game, you know. What is the secret code for this hidden ending we haven't seen but only heard about? So yeah, it's fun.
In a sense, it's something new every time,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's just getting used to the feeling of moving constantly and always making sure that every audience member feels taken care of when they arrive. Like they know that we know who they are, what they're doing, what they came here for. Did they come to spend time with family? Did they come as a date? And it sort of helps our actors figure out how best to communicate with them during the show.
Yeah, because it's still their show, so you gotta like figure out during the show why did they come here? Because they could just be like came here for a relaxing time. So we should give them like that. I mean, the show is scary and tense at sometimes, but it's still there primarily to serve the audience's interest. And you know, it is again a challenge for us because we find that out during the show. There's no prep because like the audience. I mean, we do have a questionnaire, but it's not that in depth. Like, do you want a relaxing show? We have to figure that out during the show. But the point is to make the audience very entertained and happy.
All right, Noel, can I ask you what's the character you're portraying here in Tipsy Tales?
So
In Lambana, sorry.
That Tipsy Tales presents Lambana, if you want to be super. So I play Nuno Albas,
Okay.
and he's a particularly grumpy sort of spirit, and he wants something from you. You being the people that he will encounter during the show, and he's very driven by what he needs, and he'll stop at nothing to get his goals. He's not very particularly familiar with people, so there's that very interesting dynamic. Because if you interact with this sort of character, he will react in very unpredictable ways. Because he's so used to just being in Lambana and not being in the human world. So like humans are aliens to them. He doesn't know how to interact with you, and you don't know how to interact with him. So yeah, that's the fun part about my character.
So a different reaction because you live in a different world.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I'm literally like an alien. Like I don't know what you are. Really care? Do you care? I still don't. And so on. So it's like that. But you could make him care, or maybe you don't care as well. I don't know. So that's really
That's for the audience to find
yeah,
out.
because we leave it open-ended enough for that. It's never like exact. Because I don't know, like, is he grumpy from start to finish, or will he warm up to you as a human?
So how many type of endings do we have?
Oh, can we say
Can't
that?
really tell you.
Alright.
I thought I can get
We have
that.
at least one.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Also because it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
As the more that we do the show, the more audiences we have, the more times we run it, we see more ways that it could end depending on how different people react to certain scenes or certain moments. So even the endings we have now, some of them weren't there when we first started the show. They just came
Okay.
about after various interactions and us thinking, you know, this is what it would feel like if this person didn't do this, for example. So it's constantly evolving, so the endings don't really have an exact number.
So they have to try and try.
Yeah.
And until they find out how many.
Yeah.
That's the fun. Like, we want every returnee audience to experience literally a different show every time they go. So,
But to be honest, sometimes people get one common ending because they often make similar choices, and people don't realize how they make similar choices under the same scenario for a lot of people. But there's some people that just do the complete opposite. And that's when it gets a bit fun, because then it opens the possibility of, okay, they don't do what most people do, what do they get afterwards? It's a bit more exciting in that sense.
Okay, Noel, just a little bit background about yourself. Can you tell us, how long have you been acting in theater and sort of stuff?
I started out acting in college theater in Ateneo, de Manila, in Tanghalang Ateneo. I was directed and trained under Ricardo Abad. But after that, I graduated, and then for about the next 10 years, did what any college graduate do, got a job, and sort of lost that. But afterwards, I sort of wanted to get back into it and became an actor. Started out doing like commercials, some like photo shoots, things like that. But then I started getting cast in indie movies as like a stunt person.
Okay.
Because I was naturally athletic. I did a lot of martial arts, and I still do. Do a lot of martial arts and taekwondo and things like that. And I found out I'm pretty tall for a Filipino. Like most Filipino males are actually shorter than me. So because I'm like taller and have the athletic background, they were putting me in like stunt roles. And at the time I was like, I didn't know what to do. But like, oh, you can run pretty well or whatever. So I was like, we're gonna put you in these small roles. So I took that seriously. I was like, oh, okay, this is where I fit into the industry. Because as an actor, you have to know where you fit in.
Yeah,
I mean, there
of
is
course.
that temptation, and of course, it's every actor's right to want to be every character or whatever it is. Oh, I want to be a female character next time or something. But realistically, the audience, the industry will hire you as a specific type, at least most of the time. So I took it seriously that, oh, okay, I fit into the action sort of genre. So I trained in it very specifically because like, if you do like martial arts, which I have trained in traditional martial arts, it's very different from screen martial arts.
Yeah.
So that's why like if you watch the UFC, which is very realistic martial arts, it's different for like The Matrix,
Of
which
course.
is movie martial arts. It's a very specific type of training and all of that.
Yeah.
So I did that and got to shoot a lot of indie action movies, short films, and things like that. Beyond that, I've worked with, because there's a bunch of like foreigners, particularly Americans, that like to shoot here because it's cheaper to shoot here versus like a lot of other locations. And it's an English-speaking country, so they like it here.
It's easy to find people.
Yeah, there's no like if you go to like China, there's like a giant language and cultural barrier, which is easily approachable here. So I've done that, done a lot of short films, indie films for Hollywood and things like that. I actually work from time to time with an indie comic book company that has toured me in the US. We've toured like Comic Cons, and that was actually my first professional encounter with improv, because they hired me as one of their characters to do events at the Comic Cons in the US. So I had to be the character no matter how the audience approached me, right? The convention goers.
Yeah.
And that, unknowingly to me, prepared me for this. So when I auditioned for Kina and Wayne a couple of months back, I was like, oh, I've done this before. And now I'm working here.
Wow, great. All right, let's pause for some commercials.
Wonder Woman would like to thank the following sponsors: Calligraphy Graphics Design, Al Bernaldez Couture, Clearview Contact Lenses, the Dharma Surya Jaya Townhouses and Residences.
All right, so we're back. Kina and the rest of the gang are here now to invite everyone.
Please watch Lambana Immersive Folklore Experience by Tipsy Tales. Have your own mystical folklore adventure
Here at the 4th floor in Eastwood Mall.
Catch us on the net at tipsytales.ph.
We'll be waiting for you, humans.
So that was another episode of Wonder Woman. It was just heartwarming to reconnect back to your old roots. So for all you guys wanting to see and feel and experience the folklore stories way back from our great-great-great-great-grandmothers, grandfathers, just visit Tipsy Tales here at Eastwood Mall. It's at the 4th floor, so see you there.